Welcome to Balkans Debrief with me, Ilva, Tare, a non-resident senior fellow at the Atlantic Council's Europe Center. Kosovo's recent ban on the dinar, aimed by the Kurti government at curbing illegal cash flow, has sparked tensions with the US and the European partners and has raised concerns about its impact on the Serb community, on the normalization dialogue with Serbia, and Kosovo's wider relationship with its Western allies. To discuss the reasons behind this controversial decision, I'm joined by two esteemed guests with expertise in economic and ethnic relations. Arian Zeka, Executive Director of the American Chamber of Commerce in Kosovo. Welcome, Arian.
Thank you
for joining us.
Happy to be part of it.
And Dragisa Mijacic, Executive Director of Tare, Institute for Territorial Economic Development. Welcome, Dragisa.
Thank you for having me.
Arian, let's begin with starting to explain in a simple way what motivated Kurti governments to ban the dinar, and does it truly address concerns about illegal cash flows in Kosovo?
It is really difficult to try to understand what has triggered this action of the Kosovan government. At least we're still relying on what the official explanation of the government is. They are trying to take care of the monetary stability and also prevent, as you said, amongst other counterfeit currencies, but also support for terrorism activities, as they called it. But as you said at the very beginning, the explanation itself has not been sufficient. But what is more important is that the time for enacting this particular decision was very short, and it did not allow for the Serbian community to fully understand the measure itself, but also what the alternatives to this decision might be.
Yeah, we will try to discuss later on what the alternative possible solutions or compromises will be. Dragisa, what's your understanding of this crisis created with the decision to ban the dinar? What were the motives behind it?
Indeed, it's very difficult to discuss the motives of the Kosovo government since they are not outspoken well in the public. There is a kind of a suspicious what they are saying in the public and what the reason might be behind. I would say that the key issue here is to put the pressure of the Serbian-funded institutions in Kosovo that operates primarily in education and health centers. So these institutions supposed to be their fate in the future supposed to be determined by the Brussels dialogue. They supposed to be part of the Association of Serb Majority Municipalities. And now with this decision, Kosovo government was to put the pressure on these institutions. They could not close them down. They could not shut them down because of various reasons. But they could shut down the cash inflow from Serbian dinars, and by that putting a pressure of to these institutions to exist. But I want to mention another thing here, which is very important. This is a decision of the Central Bank of Kosovo, who is an independent body who is supposed to regulate cash flow in Kosovo. But the decision itself is primarily explained by the Kosovo government, which is not the decision maker party in this particular case. So somehow it also speaks about kind of the harmonization of the decision between the Central Bank authorities and the Kosovo government, with the intention, again, to put the pressure on the Serbian community and on the institutions funded by Serbia.
Dragisa, Kosovo is a sole currency since January 22 is euro. So that's what the central bank said, that they announced this euro-only policy. Can you explain how this ban on the dinar impact the daily lives of the Kosovo Serb community in Kosovo, considering pensions and welfare concerns that were also raised by the local NGO?
Yeah, thank you for that question. I mean, euro, indeed, it is now they introduced this as a single currency policy, and euro to be the only one currency that is used in Kosovo. But we in Serbian populated areas, but not only in Serbian populated areas, we also have in other non-majority areas who use also dinars and euros as a both currency. The issue here is that Serbia is funding certain institutions, especially in the field of education and healthcare in Kosovo, and plus they're financing like 40,000 salaries, and they're financing about 32,000 pensions and about 10,000 recipients of the social welfare. So altogether, it's about 90,000 recipients of dinars who are getting this money from Serbia in order to substitute their livelihood. Now they're cut off of all these payments. Kosovo government tried to present this as a kind of a technical issue, in a sense that these people can open a bank account in Kosovo banks, and then they can receive this money. But technically, it's not possible right now. Technically, this issue is supposed to be negotiated within the dialogue, and only through a dialogue they could find the technical solutions for transfer of these money allocations. At the moment, Kosovo government used these unilateral acts without consulting with the international partners. They are trying to present this as a kind of an information issue that only if Serbs are having enough information to open bank accounts, they will be able to receive all the payments from Serbia, which is not possible. There are no technical solutions for those kind of payments.
Thank you, Dragisa. You're saying that this is not an acceptable solution. Arian, I want to ask you exactly what the government of Kosovo has said, that the Serbs will be able to open accounts free of charge where they can carry their money in dinars, which then will be converted in euros when they make payments. Do you consider this a viable solution?
It may be a viable solution. It is a feasible one. At the same time, of course, it adds additional costs to the entire process, and it does not, what is more important, it does not provide a solution to this very short-term problem that has occurred in the meantime. And I don't know if you were able to see what the statement and what the position of the American Chamber of Commerce in Kosovo regarding this issue we believe that the issue is being interpreted wrongly by the Central Bank of Kosovo, and the provisions of the Constitution and the provisions of the respective law are being read from a very narrow and non-pragmatic point of view. We believe that while legal has the status of the legal tender and no one disputes this fact, including the U.S. Embassy, U.S. government, and other international partners, Kosovo's international partners, who have strongly and harshly reacted towards this decision. But at the same time, it does not preclude the usage of other currencies in transactions when both parties agree to this. So once again, I want to repeat, while euro maintains the status of legal tender as currently is, it does not preclude the regulations, not the new regulation of the Central Bank, but the constitutional and legal provisions do not preclude or exclude usage of other currencies in transactions when both parties agree to this. And as a result, AmCham has proposed three alternatives, as a matter of fact.
Can you walk us through those proposals?
Do you want to go through them now or later on?
Yeah. We can go now.
The first proposal or the first option or alternative that AmCham is proposing is utilization of money transfer agencies. Again, this is a feasible way of importing currencies, but it adds additional costs, and as a result, AmCham does not recommend this alternative as the main or the only alternative. I will jump into the third one, which is the most feasible alternative as we see it, is that a commercial bank in the Republic of Serbia selects another commercial bank in the Republic of Kosovo, and then they, through these designated accounts, they do transfer of money and then use the bank in Kosovo to distribute the payments to the final users. this may be the most, as I said, the alternative that works best, because it does not include any negotiations between the National Bank of Serbia and the Central Bank of Kosovo, which does not seem to be very likely to happen at the moment, and maybe, as I said, a short-term solution until both parties sit down in Brussels or anywhere else and they discuss about the final settlement as suggested by the international partners.
Dragisa, do you think this proposal from the AmCham Kosovo is viable, is possible?
I have to say that I haven't read before these proposals. They are definitely a good ground. They provide good ground for further discussions. What I have to say at the moment, it is we are running out of time. That is the problem. This situation affects both the citizens and affects the institutions. And now, without having an access to money, it's very difficult for both of them, for citizens to live their normal lives, for the institutions how to operate. The issue is that before there was an opportunity with commercial bank, national NLB Commercial Banka, who was licensed in Kosovo system, so they could be kind of the interlocutor between these two systems, and there might be a solution if their license was prolonged. I think the best solution will be to prolong the license of the NLB Commercial Bank, and then at least for 3 to 6 months, and then to try to find a more viable solution on a longer run. The problem is also that more than 10,000, I think around 20,000 of people, they receive money in cash. These are really people on the lowest level of the society. Usually these are either elderly or people with disabilities. They don't have the access to banks. It was the postman who brought them the money in cash, which was kind of not legally regulated in Kosovo. Let's be honest on that, but that was the only one.
And it should be regulated.
Yeah, absolutely. There is no doubt in that. But the point is we have to find a solution how to bring money to these people and then to try to regulate all the issues. And there is another technical problem, which is that in many of these Serbian areas, commercial banks of Kosovo simply don't operate for various reasons. These are small or rural communities with not so many clients, so they don't have economic, I believe they don't have economic reasons why to open the bank offices in these small towns. So there is a pressure from various sides. I understand the logic to legally regulate this issue, but we should not leave people out of money because of the regulation. We have to provide good enough transition period for everyone to make a fair and just solution.
Dragisa, you mentioned briefly that the Association of the Serb Majority Municipalities, which has been a request from the Western partners for Kosovo to implement, will address this issue of financing and the dinar issue, as some have suggested. Do you have any idea how that would work? What would be how it will be regulated with the ASM?
Well, let me be very clear. I really would like to explain a little bit what you just said. The ASM is the obligation of the Kosovo government, which was ratified in Kosovo Parliament. So the international partners are just reminding Kosovo government to implement something that has already been accepted by the Kosovo government. So now we are in the process of negotiating the statute. There are different kind of versions of the statute floating around. It's not public, but we more or less we know what is written in there. There is another point which I want to highlight here, that the Ahtisaari's plan and Kosovo Constitution and Kosovo law, local self-governance, they all foresee that Serbia has the right to finance institutions of the Serbian community in Kosovo. But the problem is that it's not legally regulated, and it should be transparent. Let's be honest. I mean, there is a need for transparency of these cash transfers. So the idea was throughout the dialogue to find a solution for transparency and for stability of these kind of funds, to have the knowledge of everyone of to what extent and to what current institutions are financed. And then there is a general idea that with establishing of Serb majority municipalities, then Serbia will there will be also financial mechanisms for Serbia transparently to finance these institutions. So that was kind of a trajectory that was planned by the international partners, but somehow Kosovo government, they wanted the unilateral acts to somehow to make not working these plans. I mean,
Arian, do you think the ASM will be as soon as possible implemented by the government? Do you see any political will to implement it and address the issue?
I know that the pressure is increasing on the Kosovan government, and it's been stated in several of official positions by the U.S. government, but by the European Union, but at the same time by individual EU member states. Now, whether the Kosovan government is going to move forward with the establishment of the association is a different matter, because they are insisting on an official signature to be placed on the Ohrid agreement and in all other agreements in which the parties enter it. So I don't know. I hope so, because as I said, these current unilateral decisions of the government are necessarily impacting the quality of relationship between United States and Kosovo, and this has been stated by the most senior officials of the Department of State of the United States of America. And Kosovo, as our own Prime Minister is stating as well, does not have a more important partner than the United States. Therefore, we don't have the luxury. We cannot afford to ruin this relationship to a point in which recovery will be more costly. I would just like to relate to something that Dragisa said earlier, if you allow me. Komercijalna banka has voluntarily asked for ceasing of its ending of its activity in Kosovo. Therefore, the licensing of their activity was not subject to the decision of the Central Bank or regulation of the Central Bank on cash operations. It was their own request, and the request did not come at this particular time. It was a request that dated several months back. So this particular period was the deadline by which they wanted to shut down their operations in Kosovo. But yes, I mean, there are other banks, Dragisa and Ilva. That's why I jumped to the third alternative. There are other banks in Serbia which belong to the same, and in Kosovo, which belong to the same group, and we believe that the communication between these different banks might be very much might be easier and less costly for the ultimate beneficiaries. At the same time, if you allow me, and I'm going to end here, is APSHEM in its position also raised the importance of licensing of the companies that will be dealing with importation of Serbian dinars in Kosovo. So this is also another important factor and another important aspect that should be dealt and resolved as soon as possible by the Central Bank of Kosovo, so that normal operations and the citizens of Kosovo, as the United States government is saying, even if we're talking about Serbs, they are citizens of Kosovo, they do not continue to face with these problems that have interrupted their daily life.
Yeah. Thank you, Arian Zeka and Dragisa Mijacic for walking us through this latest crisis. And from what I understood, dialogue and communication and coordination will be the solution for this latest crisis. Thank you for talking to Balkans Debrief, and thank you for watching us.